Welcome back to Adventures in Reach, where I want you to rethink what adventures are possible for yourselves. Today, what I'm talking about is what's best as starting out with rappelling and climbing and any sorts of rope work. Is it better to have a figure eight family of knots or use a Bowline family of knots? So right here, I'm going to start with a little challenge. I'm going to show you 3 knots, okay? And I want you to comment which ones are the correct ones, okay? If you comment about which knots you think are correct, then I will respond back to you and let you know if you are right or not. So I'm going to show you 3 Bowlines to start. Okay, so this is going to be A. I'm going to show you just short time. So this is A. This is B. And this is C. Okay, so comment. Which of those are real Bowlines? All right, here we go. This is for figure 8. Which of these are the figure 8s? So this is D, E, and F. Now, I'm guessing that was actually a little more difficult on the first set, ABC, with the Bowlines, because there's a couple that look very similar, right? So these two here, you know, I show you these to you quick, they look very similar and you may not be able to tell which is which right away, which is a safety issue. It's not easy to check the anchor, the piece of pro that's tying onto the harness, whatever it is, whatever you're using it for. It may not be that easy to identify, versus when I show you these two, even quicker, you probably already know which one is a figure 8. So part of safety is being able to identify that the knot is correct in the first place. Ideally, your climbing partner or your rescue partner is going to check your knots and say, and should be able to look from afar even and say, oh, that doesn't look like what you intended. And you can rectify that right away. Okay. And before we get too far into this, I want to tell you that both knots are great knots, right? If you're experienced, or if you're just really good with, you know, memorizing those knots and things, then by all means go ahead and use either one. Okay. Now in my rescue squad with our rope rescue, we use Bowlines because I think that they are a little more versatile. There's more ways to tie them, there's ways to adjust them, and I think that it just works better, and it's easier to kind of untie them at the end after they've been weighted, so you know you're not kind of working a long time or damaging your rope or anything, or risking that trying to untie. But for personal protection, you know, you don't have that same issue of loading those knots as you do in a rescue. One thing I want to think about here, yes, there's identification, right? And that's one piece. And I think about like classic thriller movies, somebody's jumping off a rooftop and they're going through those window overhangs, right? And each one stops them a little bit, right? And it's not that you want to fall in the first place and have to rely on window overhangs, but if you are falling, you want tons of windows below you with overhangs that are just going to catch you and rip and catch you and rip and catch you and rip. So by the end, you're kind of just stopped, or, you know, it's usually you end up in the dumpster full of soft material, right? So in real life, we really want those stops in there as well, and as many of them as we can have without them just getting in the way and making things kind of clunky and too complicated, right? Yes, either knot is fine, but being able to identify them is one of the things that adds a layer of safety there, okay? Another thing is those knots staying tight. So this is a Bowline. I won't tell you which letter this was, okay? And I'm going to tighten this. I'm going to pull hard on this thing, okay? So this is tightened up. That is a set Bowline. Now, check this out. All right, I don't know about you, but I would not want to rely on this if I were starting out. This is not recognizable as a Bowline anymore. Obviously, if something was clipped in, it'd be a little different, and if it stayed weighted the whole time, it would be different. Also, if you tied a backup knot, it would be different. It would be fine, but it's an added layer that you have to learn. That is not as reliable as the figure 8, right? We tighten it down. Okay, and now we shake this. Nothing's gonna happen, right? This is not going to move at all, right? This is still just super tight. I mean, it's hard. It hasn't budged, right? And it won't. And you know, a lot of people tie safeties on here, which again, there's nothing wrong with it. They're not technically needed because again, this knot just does not loosen up. But you know, even without the safety, it's not going anywhere, okay? And so it's one of those things that it's not going to loosen up. It's easy to identify, and you don't need a backup. So with those three things right there, this is the knot to start with, in my opinion, right? Hey, if you have found this video helpful, inspiring, encouraging, any of that, or just fun to watch, then please go ahead and hit the like and subscribe, and check out the videos that you see on your screen now. Thanks. We'll catch you next time.